everyone, welcome. I'm Manvi Dhillon, and today Dell and ET Now present Building Future-Ready Enterprises. We all recognize that technology is changing business, and business is changing technology. In this environment, can a business really be future-ready? How can a business be future-ready? We will reflect on these questions with our panel, and it's time to meet them. Ganesh Krishnan, co-founder and chairman of Portia Medical. Partha DeSarkar, global CEO, Hinduja Global. Marius A. Haas, chief commercial officer and president, Enterprise Solutions, Dell Corporation. Sandeep Malhotra, founder and CEO, Home Shop 18. Amira Shah, Managing Director and CEO, Metropolis Healthcare. And Ninad Karpe, CEO, Aptech. Thank you all very much for being on this panel today. First off, I say something like, technology is changing business, business is changing technology, everyone agrees, but in real terms, Mr. Haas, give us an example that drives home the point.
Well, you start at the macro level where, let's just assume for a second, we want to drive a 7% GDP growth as an overall economic stimulation, if you will. You think about the way to achieve that on a consistent basis is to have technology drive the innovation that brings higher productivity levels, higher efficiency levels across multiple different sectors in the industry. That then enables us to grow, that enables us to create jobs, that enables us to drive entrepreneurship, and that then enables us to hire a more talented workforce. In turn then, that innovation and that technology helps us achieve new things, helps us achieve new business models that keep driving this engine.
You painted the big picture, and I'm going to get a sort of granular view from everyone on this panel, and I'd encourage you to speak as honestly as possible on television. But essentially, if I ask each one of you, and I'm going to ask you, Mr. Krishnan, first, you know, how do you go about building an organization that is future-ready? What's your response?
I think today, as you look at the opportunities in the startup world where I come from, the biggest impact has happened because of proliferation of mobile, proliferation of social media, broadband, and just sheer smartphone devices available at affordable cost. So using all of this, you can actually build business model. We are no longer talking about technology as an enabler or as a support function, but as something that can define the business model. Let me give an example. In my last business, Tutor Vista, where we used to teach the kids in US using teachers working from home in India, we were basically able to bring together technology, internet, and global resources from countries like India to teach the world. Okay, right? What it did was it changed the personalized tutoring from a $60 per hour business to $100 per month of unlimited tutoring business. So suddenly you see how technology is able to change business model and make a service which once was privilege of the super rich available to every family in the US.
I accept the point that technology can totally change and disrupt business models. Right now I'm fishing for examples of how you individually at your organizations are doing things on the technology front and beyond the technology front to make your organizations sort of as strong as possible to cope with the future. So future ready, Mr. Sarkar, what are you doing?
The ability to take small investments, the ability to be flexible, not to get married into platform till you're sure of the scale at which your new business model would be. That's important for me, and that's what we're trying to look at. Pay-per-use rather than having to invest big dollars into big technology that you're married forever.
Well, some interesting thoughts out there, and it'll be fun to get counterpoints of view from the panel. But before I do that, the fundamental question. For an organization like Home Shop 18, how do you become future ready today?
Well, actually, future ready is not just today, it's every day. In our case, it was actually solving a consumer need And fundamentally, from an India point of view, the biggest need was difficulty of distributing products on a nationwide scale. Since the digitization was happening, all we did was convert the digital tools like television, mobile, and web as alternative channels of distribution.
Sure.
And we've used technology to really do that. Fundamentally, what are we doing? We're distributing products in more than 3,000 cities in the country. So on one level, we're using technology to get scale and reach. At the other level, we are doing the softer things of changing the DNA of the culture of the organization. Most organizations from the past, from my example, were driven by processes and controls. I think what we are trying to do now is to really decontrol the entire system and bring in flexibility in structures, in decision making, in roles, everything, because that's the only way you'll be future ready. For the simple reason, because the change is happening so quickly, redundancy of technology is so quick, that if you don't have adaptability in your DNA as an organization, I think you're never going to be future ready.
And that's a tougher goal in a sense to achieve. Before we flesh that out, Ms. Shah, from you, when you think about the future and about building a sustainable organization, what do you focus on?
So I think to me, future ready means being customer ready, right? And your customer, for example, in healthcare is not only a patient, it's a doctor, it's an insurance company, it's a hospital. We've got multiple different stakeholders that we actually deal with. And if I think about from just a patient's point of view, you know, even 2 years ago, what did it mean to walk into a path lab, right? It meant walking into a location, waiting for 10 minutes, giving your blood, finding out when you'll get the report, giving your payment, coming back, then going to the doctor, and everything is on paper. There's nothing digital, nothing which is ready for you to store. And the question is, what is it that the customer is going to need tomorrow, and how am I going to give it to them? So even today, a patient can sit at home, can get on their mobile app, a Metropolis mobile app, can say, I need a home visit tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, sit in their pajamas, somebody will show up at your doorstep, collect your sample. Within the next 6 hours, you'll have the report on your mobile app and your email and email to your doctor and stored for you, so that you don't need to do any of that. And I think that change, exactly like he said, the consumer need is going to keep changing. And are we able to keep understanding what the consumer wants and deliver it to them before anybody else can? That's future ready.
It's interesting. You're both making the same point. One of you is looking at it from the consumer lens, and one of you is looking at it from the organizational lens. But essentially, the fundamental points are being echoed. Mr. Karpe, for the future, AppTech, and the poll ends with you. So your job is to come up with something completely different from what the panel has said so far.
They've all said what I had to say. But for me, we have to be future ready or dead. There's no option. So, it's not should an organization be future ready. The answer is
yes, of course. We all agree. But how?
So I'll give you a 2-minute commercial on AppTech, then I'll tell you how. So we have
a 5-second commercial on AppTech, and then how?
So we have a very large base outside India. Not many people are aware. We've got 1,000+ centers in India, 200+ in China, and 200+ in 40 countries. All of these are emerging countries, Nigeria, Mongolia, all across. The issue was when technology has become such an important part of our business, how do you make it future ready? As in, the girl or boy who comes to us has a simple need. She or he wants a better standard of living. And our job to train her or him to get a better job and improve the standard of living. It's a very simple concept, but it requires a lot of effort. They come to us for 2 years, 3 years. So technology is making such a huge difference. We are reaching out, let's say, a girl or boy in Nigeria because of the problems they've had. We're not able to ship books, trainers. We have now gone entirely digital, so they are able to access the latest content, the latest videos on a very thin, kind of a pipe, thin. And technology is getting better. Trainers is a big issue across the world, not just in private sector, all across. How do you update them? So technology, again, playing an important part. Earlier, we used to all tell them to come to India once a year. So in every facet, from acquisition to delivery, satisfaction, I don't think there's any part which is not touched. This afternoon, in fact, 4 o'clock, we issued a press release. AppTech is, tied up with a company called HandyTrain to provide on the mobile phone training. This will be for students, inside, outside. So, we are all constantly thinking on what next. So what next after mobile phone? Ganesh alluded to mobile phones, and that's critical. But, we are thinking, okay, mobile phones, 800 mil, 900 mil. After that, what? 3 years down the line, what will happen? So that's being future ready.
Mr. Krishnan, I really want to understand. I get a sense here that the majority view is that being future ready essentially means, ramping up on the technology. It can be sort of flexible technology. That's a colloquial way for me to describe it. But ramping up on technology, is that a fair statement and assertion to make?
Yeah, I think, no, I disagree with that slightly. It's not ramping up of technology. I think it's using technology in a very different way than what we are used to in the past. I think that is critical. Let me try and explain, and I will not do a commercial break here. Let me actually give examples. It's about using technology in the real time to run your business, and using technology in real time to be able to take decisions on the fly, okay, right? Which is very different than the yesteryears where we are using technology as a supportive tool, as a decision-making tool, as a decision support system, to use a jargon, okay, right? For example, in a Bombay-based startup which does vertical marketplaces for used bikes, okay, right? They actually give you a potential buyer the ability to do a virtual test drive of a bike before they actually get to see it or to buy it, okay, right? And this is happening today, here, now, okay, right? And it's just a 3-month-old startup, but they're doing it. In Bangalore, we have an internet-only food company called Fresh Menu, wherein we deliver food to consumers within 30 minutes of their ordering. Fresh food, no preservatives, no frozen stuff. The way we do it is by using technology. So what happens is you have centralized kitchens, you have vans that carry the food, keep the food hot, and the last mile is done by two-wheelers, okay, right? So when a consumer orders on the app, the two-wheeler guy, the last mile delivery boy in the GPS knows where the customer is. The van knows where the customer is. The van starts moving towards the customer. And for that movement, it also gets a feed from a real-time traffic site called Trafline, okay, right? Which provides. So based on the traffic site, based on the location of the consumer, based on the location of the van and the two-wheeler boy who is going to pick it up and deliver, all of them adjust themselves so that the 30 minutes can actually happen. While this is happening, 2 other customers' orders, okay, right, at the same time. They also have the same service level that it has to be delivered within 30 minutes. Otherwise, we take a penalty. So in order to achieve that, automatically the routing of the truck and the routing of the last mile delivery boys changes, because between the first order, within 2 minutes, 2 other people have ordered. Now this is really real time. This is future ready. Same thing if you wind back even 3 years back. None of this would have been possible.
So none of this would have been possible 3 years ago because there wasn't the kind of deployment of technology that is available today. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, at the grassroots, for the business level, for the delivery boys to the vans.
Okay. Mr. Sarkar, do you need
Sorry, I just wanted to...
Yes, sure.
I think there are also 2 other things. One, I think what Ganesh was saying, the pace of change that is happening is so much faster than it ever was. And second, technology is an enabler. It's not just a function in a company any longer. I think it has to cut across every aspect of the business. I mean, if you're a supply chain or a logistics guy, but you're not in tune with the latest technologies there, I think you're going to miss the boat. Same is the case with any other function, whether it's finance, commercial, any other. So technology is really the cement that's holding everything together, is the enabler of change. And it cuts across the company and is no longer just one department which, was there till some time back.
Okay, point well taken. And I'm going to ask you, honestly, do all business leaders in your organization, in organizations that you encounter, do they all embrace digitization technology in the way that you have painted, which is the ideal way?
No, they don't. I think it starts from the top. All of us are looking and searching for technology, but are we truly thinking solutions and then finding technology? So to your question, is it accepted? Is it well entrenched in every function at all levels in the company? Maybe not. But that's where you have to really change the organization if you truly want to be future ready.
Mr. Sarkar, do you need a sort of long-term disciplined approach to technology? I'm asking you this question with an agenda because the sense I got from you was that, you would say no. And I want to take that argument further. What's the approach to technology? If I say long-term and discipline, does it resonate?
Well, it does, because if you're making big investments, yes. And for me, that's the first hurdle I need to cross, that I need to convince myself that I need to make a big investment for one particular technology, and that doesn't have a downside in the future, right? Once that hurdle is crossed, I guess it's an easy thing to do. I think the other point that I would like to make out here is that when we are talking about, I think the question of leadership that you brought up, I find that many of us have grown up in a world which is changing fast. Some of us have adapted quickly to the fact that it's changed, and some of us have remained conventional. So when it comes to flexibility, when it comes to workforce flexibility, the current technology that we are trying to struggle to give an answer to is how do you provide a flexible workforce that can ramp up and down by the hour? And that's when the technology that we are trying to figure out is work at home. How to find virtual people who can log in at any point of time, depending upon what time of the day you need that person to be available to do that piece of work. Now, in a conventional command and control environment in which factories have worked before, having an agent sitting 100 miles away, 1,000 miles away, managing productivity, managing training, making sure he or she motivated is a mindset change for leadership, right? So that's again a different dynamic that we're dealing with as we are building organizations for the future, making sure that your leadership is attuned to how technology is fundamentally changing, how you can make your workforce more productive.
Mr. Haas, Dell puts this proposition forward that, integrated thinking and integrated technology are essential to building future-ready enterprises. What does that mean?
There are two different ways to look at it. There's the integrated from a horizontal value chain perspective, as described earlier, about how all the different pieces need to be connected and well informed to make faster business decisions. And then there's the other element of from a technology stack or a verticalized integration about most of us spend our time thinking about what is the business problem I'm trying to solve? What is the business outcome I'm trying to achieve for my shareholders, for my customers, for my institution, if you will. So you spend more time thinking about the workloads and the applications you need to make available for your customers internally and externally. And you think more about how do I secure that? How do I use the information that those workloads collect? And how do I disseminate that? And how do I have a seamless and very agile infrastructure that I can provision on the fly to be able to run those workloads extremely effectively? Right? So it's the kind of four core buckets of have I transformed my environment to be future ready on the application side and on the infrastructure side? Am I connecting or am I bringing together all the pieces of the value chain? Am I then informed by getting the data to make faster and better decisions? And last but not least, am I securing the environment so that my data is protected and also my customer information is protected? All those pieces have to come together. And we all have a different stage at which we believe we're future ready, so there isn't one answer.
Exactly. And that's why I was trying to get a sense of exactly what future ready means to each one of you. I'm not asking the tough question, are you future ready? I'm just asking conceptually what it means. Mr. Karpe, there's, again, a lot of consensus on the fact that social, mobile, analytics, cloud, they're changing, the way businesses function. Even a non-tech person like me can attest to that phenomena. But what, in real terms, does it mean, say, for an app tech?
So I would like to add a dimension, and I'll come to it, maybe my friend Ganesh can add to it. In this whole discussion on technology, future ready, to my mind, the most important part is talent and creating right people to take the organization forward. And that again links to what you're saying, because how people react to these technologies. So for example, in our organization, we have allowed so social media is open through the day. So hypothetically, anyone can come and just be on Jabong the entire day, or Flipkart, or any of the sites, and we don't stop it. And we believe we should trust. people that they come and they will do a good job. So human behavior, right talent, and their responses to this technology ultimately ensures the delivery. So talent and people, this is going to be the biggest bane of this country and countries across the world of cultivating the right people. 80% of our kids drop out by the time they reach class 8, and for girls it's 89%. After that, again, there's a massive dropout. So, I mean, you see the statistics. By the time you get someone whom you want to hire, you really require a lot of scrubbing around. And then to ensure that this girl or boy is attuned to technology and behaves to technology rationally in the best interest of the company is all the more difficult.
It's a tough ask, and I see Ms. Shah nodding her head. I mean, can you share your own thoughts on that part of it?
You know, unfortunately, healthcare has been a traditionally very stodgy industry. It's been very slow to move, slow to adapt, and even today, there's no digitization of anything. So today, it still works, you know, very, very sort of traditional methods. Talent is a huge issue in healthcare. You don't get people who medically can think in a business context. So I think for us, you know, I totally resonate with the point that it's very, very difficult to get and keep good quality talent with us. And we still haven't seen technology play the revolutionary kind of role that we are talking about in other industries play in healthcare yet. And that's still to come. And I think it will happen, but it will happen over the next few years.
Same thing with education.
Yeah, because these are all
still to come. Let's see
traditional
if
industries.
Krishnan can throw in a few counter examples to the assertion you made.
Yeah, I think, no, I agree that healthcare has been lagging behind in terms of adoption of technology. If you take an example, as compared to, say, banking or travel industry, which has been in the forefront to adopt. Unfortunately, education and healthcare has been lagging, but I, as an entrepreneur, see that as the opportunity. Portia Medical, for example, it's a health tech company. So we have 2,000 clinicians doing 50,000 home visits every month. All of them carry a smartphone. Okay, right? So the entire protocol that what they are supposed to do at site of the patient at home is actually downloaded there. So, and because it's GPS enabled, we know even logistically whether the person is visiting on time, when did the visit start, when has the visit ended, and we also know if he has left the place of the patient without taking, say, for example, sugar reading, he has not updated it. So therefore, that is where the next 5 to 10 years of opportunity in healthcare is there, courtesy smartphone. That's one example. Other thing that we have done is launched point of care devices which monitor the patient, and through the cloud we are able to record it centrally and be able to intervene proactively with what we call as personalized medicine. Again, all of this, including the sensors, wearable devices, all of this is new. So the assertion that it has been slow is correct, but the opportunity there, like in education, just give me a minute, is huge, because the education example that Ninath gave is very true. The solution to that is, how do you engage today's generation with education the way they would like to consume, which comes back to today's kids, or today's generation likes social, they like peer-to-peer learning, they like gamification, they like to be acknowledged, they like it to be interactive, they want to be clapped at, they want to publish their score, they want to invite their friends to play. Bring all the principles of this into education, then you have an engaged audience, okay, right? The old sage on stage thing is gone. Same thing is in healthcare. The patient wants to be involved in the treatment, which is not the case. So that's where the opportunity is.